What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is the Cartel Crew, season 1, episode 4. First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody that watches my review. It's getting a lot of support, and I want to thank you for that. I really do enjoy this show. I want to start off this review by saying a few things, because first of all, let me say this: I will never, because I've been there. Not Let me not say I've been there. I grew up in DC in the 80s and 90s. Okay, so I have a certain understanding, and not to get too much into my personal business, but I have a certain understanding of being in certain situations that you make bad decisions, right? So I'm never going to judge people who thought that they only had one option and they chose that option, meaning going into the drug life. If that's all you've ever known, if your family was in that and there was a generation of it and that you didn't know any better, right? Versus knowing better, doing better, right? And so the beginning of this episode, that's what we saw. We saw where Michael opened up a gym, and he said one of the reasons why he said, I believe it's Taekwondo, and I know y'all will correct me if I'm wrong. He said that basically saved his life, right? And he was saying that, I don't know why I keep saying right. And he was saying that basically saved his life. And that when he opened up his gym in the hood because he wanted to help young kids who, he even said something to that effect about making one bad decision or making one wrong move. And so he wanted to be there to sort of help deter, give these kids an outlet so that they didn't feel like they had to be on the street. They could come into the gym. They could learn a skill. They could learn something. They could build up that self-confidence. It might be kids in the neighborhood being bullied, and they can go to Michael's gym and they can learn some self-defense. Not to fight, but to defend themselves or have a certain level of esteem about them. And so I respect the fuck out of that. Excuse my language, but I respect that, because Michael was born into a life through no fault of his own. And that's all he knew. And going legit after spending your whole life living, it's not even so much just you don't know anything different than the drug life. You are used to a certain lifestyle. And that lifestyle is intoxicating. And so I have a lot of respect for what he did. And then I want to say that I have a lot of respect for Los. Last week, Los, you made me mad. But you made me mad. Like, I love Los like in a little brother kind of way, right? Because I think he really wants to be better. And we saw that a little bit in this episode. Last week when we saw him with his baby's mother, he's angry, he's frustrated, and he took it out on her. And he acknowledges that in this episode where he's like, look, I don't blame her. Like, I put her through a lot. I had my own demons. I don't blame her for my relationship with my daughter. But of course, that's where you have that misplaced anger. So anyway, that was my 2 cents. So Michael asked Los to come and speak to his kids at the gym. And you could tell Los was nervous. You could tell he was like, I don't even know what to say to these kids. Like, how can I be an inspiration to these kids? But once he started talking, he was just telling his story. And his story is so deep. Like, we know his story. We've got bits and pieces of his story. But his story is so deep, you guys. He deals with depression. He deals with alcoholism. And he said that getting out of the life, again, it's not just deciding you're not going to involve yourself in criminal activity anymore. It's finding the other outlet, finding that other option. And for him it was alcohol. And he said, and he made a really deep connection. He said they call it spirits for a reason. He was like, and the spirits that it brought out in me aren't spirits that were good. You know what I mean? They weren't good for me. And he would talk to the kids about his bout with alcoholism and how it's a daily struggle and how it's not something that he has fully overcome. It's something he's working on. And, his anger management, his anger issues, and how, he just had this rage. But it's something he described. And again, I know I know there'll be people that don't want to make it be like, oh, you just making excuses. But it sounds almost like a PTSD. This man has seen some things. He has been involved in some things. He was involved in a shootout that he should have been dead. His brother was decapitated. Like, he has seen some things. Now, granted, it was because he was living a criminal lifestyle, but that doesn't lessen the trauma. And these are kids pretending to be adults. right? These are 15, 16, 17-year-old kids pretending to be adults. When I worked in the juvenile detention center, these are kids. They play hard. They done been through some stuff. They act hard. But at the end of the day, when you scratch back that surface, they're kids. And so because of that, if a 15-year-old had been involved in a school shooting and had witnessed 5 kids get killed in front of them, wouldn't we say they needed therapy? Wouldn't we say that they could be suffering from PTSD when they go through certain things? Wouldn't we be worried about them and worried about their mental health? So why is it any different just because the person is in a shootout because they selling weed? They still have those same traumatic effects. So it sounds to me like Los has some PTSD. But the good thing is he seems like he's acknowledging it and he identifies it. And once you know, I know they say with the whole G.I. Joe knowing is half the battle, but it really is. Once you can identify and point at something and say, hey, I am dealing with alcoholism. I am an alcoholic. I am dealing with my anger issues. I am a raging, angry person. I am dealing with trauma from seeing people killed in front of me. Like, once you can identify it, then you can work through it. All right, I spent 6 minutes on that. But it was a really good scene. And later on in the show, we see where Michael and Los meet up again. And, you know, Michael says, hey, my kids really loved you. They really want you. They want you to come back. They really enjoyed your talk. And Los was like, really? Because I didn't even really know what to say. Like, I wasn't sure if I was. And he was like, no. That what you said was great. Like, it was cool. It was great. Sorry. And so, made me lose my whole train of thought. And so, Michael then lets us know that he has his own demons, that once again getting out of the life and going legit is easier said than done. And he said how he was dealing with, again, his demons and his trauma and really his PTSD and just that whole withdrawal from, again, that lifestyle is intoxicating. This is a man who was a millionaire and never worked a damn day in his life. His whole life, that's all he knew. He basically was running his mother's empire at 12. So again, now at 35, the world says to him, okay, either you going back to jail or you're going to have to go legit. And so he became a drug addict. And he talked about how he OD'd 3 or 4 times and how he was supposed to be dead. Like, they literally brought him back to life. And so, again, we just see the effects that just go beyond movies and portrayals of the glamorous life. Like, we just seeing the real shit. And the other part of this episode gets really deep too. So that's the guys. That's what we kind of saw going on with the guys in this episode. So let's get to the ladies. Okay. I'm conflicted, y'all, because even though I'm not really crazy about how Marie handled the situation last week, a part of me understands why she's upset. I do. Now, I don't think that cussing people out and throwing shit at them is necessarily the best way to handle it. But I definitely understand saying, look, you're my friend and I was riding for you. And the person I was riding, and I'm riding for you and I'm getting into fights with this chick over you. And then next thing I know, y'all all lovey-dovey, hunky-dory, and I'm sitting here looking stupid. I got it. But the flip side of it that I also get is Stephanie saying, look, I'm trying to be the bigger person. I'm trying to be like, not be on that bullshit, trying to be like, look, let's move forward. Let's be cool, not be friends. Even though in this episode, they was more than just being cool. They was friends. They was at spa days and shit. But that's sort of where Stephanie was coming from. So I saw both sides of it. So anyway, let's talk about it. We see Marie meet up with Kat, and we meet a new character, Diana. And Diana has been in federal prison herself. Her and her husband, they blacked his face out. He's still in jail. They ran like a family criminal enterprise down in Miami. They were all in the news and everything when they got caught. They started off selling weed, and it just went bigger from there. And she said when she first met her husband, and her story is so much like so many young girls' stories that I know, whether it be through experience. Again, y'all, DC in the 80s and 90s wasn't no joke. And she said when she met her husband, he was dirt poor. They didn't have shit. He started selling weed. His business got to be bigger, 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 bigger. She wanted to help out. She wanted to let him know that she had his back, that she was ride or die. And he tried to keep her out of it. He didn't want her to be a part of it, but she was like, no, I want you to know that I got your back. And when they finally did get caught by the police, she said they was living big. She said they was living real good. Never thought they would ever get caught, which nobody ever thinks they're going to get caught. And when they finally did get caught, she said they offered her basically immunity to flip on her husband. And her husband was begging her, take the deal. Like, I'm done. I'm going to, whether you talk or not, I'm going to jail. So you might as well take the deal so that you'll be out to take care of our kids. Like, forget about me. Like, it is what it is. She was like, nope, I wasn't. She said he begged me to take the deal. And I said, no, I can't go out like a snitch. I can't do that to you. Again, I see it. I see both sides of that coin too. I understand where he coming from. Like, look, I'm going to jail regardless of whether you say anything. So you might as well go ahead and take the deal and be ready, be there to take care of the kids. But I mean, I see where she coming from too. I don't know if I'd have been able to testify against my husband either. Like, regardless, I mean, in that type of situation now, I mean, if he was out here like killing people, that might be it. Well, I guess forget it. I'm not going down that road. Anyway, so we meet her and they get to talking, you know, they out having lunch, whatever, and they get to talking, and of course Maria gets to telling them about how everything went down with her and Stephanie, and how, you know, Stephanie got her looking stupid out here in these streets because she was defending her, and, you know, and again, you know, this is what I love about, I love real people when they real about their shit. Kat was like, okay, well, Stephanie's my best friend. No matter what you say, and you're not going to convince me to take your side over hers. You're not going to convince me to choose sides. She's my friend. I said, I know that's right, Marie. And what Marie could say was, all right, well, I mean, you do what you do, but just know that for me, it's a wrap. And I can respect that, to each his own. Like, it is what it is. So, and of course, Diana, Miss New Girl on the Block, she got an opinion about it. You know, she's like, oh, you know, I would have fucked her up. She talking about my father like that. You just don't do that. She'd have been dead to me. Da 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 da. Basically defending Marie's stance on it or whatever. So they got together to talk because we found out in the first episode about Kat's situation. Well, we know that the father of her son, he's back on in a halfway house, so he can't see the son anymore. So she told him about that, and then she was talking about her situation with her wanting to go see where her father was killed. Her father was killed in New York. Her mom has not been back since. They had to leave town because basically there was a price on her mom's head and on her head, that the night that her father was killed was actually supposed to be an ambush where all of them was supposed to be killed. He was instructed to bring his family, like he was invited to the party because it was a party, and he was told, bring your family, bring everybody to the party. And he left his daughter at home. He must have had a sixth sense because he was like, yeah, nah. And then his wife was supposed to meet him there. They didn't all come together. And he got ambushed and he was shot multiple times and he was killed. And so clearly he had pissed some people off, the fact that they wanted to kill his whole family. And then once they didn't get the family, they were going to kill the mama, kidnap the daughter for a ransom. Like, clearly it was some deep shit that went down. But the mother had to basically flee New York, go to Florida, and she hadn't been back since her dad was killed. And that was in 1990 or 1991. So it's been a while. So Kat basically is saying, look, I want to go back. I want to see where my father took his last breath. I just want to make that trip. And there was some sort of family get together that was happening. And she was like, this would be the perfect opportunity for us to go. And so she asked them to come with her. And, they were like, that's cool. I'm down. And she asked Stephanie to go, but Stephanie couldn't make it because Stephanie is actually in the studio right now with Lil Wayne. After she did her performance at his festival, she said she's just been blowing up. Like, things have been going really, really well for her. She's in the studio. She's been getting all sorts of requests to perform and to do all kinds of things. So she's, she's like, look, I wish I could go, but right now I gotta strike while the iron is hot, and I just can't go right now. It's and Kat's like, look, I get it, I understand, but I really wish you could come. And then she told them about what Marie was saying, about the situation with Nicole and everything, and she got upset. She was like, was she tattling on me? Like, she running back to you and tattling? Like, what is that about? So, of course, and the thing about Stephanie gets so excited. She starts yelling and getting excited and everything. And it's like, girl, it ain't even that serious. And Kat was like, I mean, I'm just letting you know what's going on. I really wish you could come. I understand why you can't. But, it is what it is. So, now, remember, Marie wants to become a partner in Pure Blanca. She wants to become a partner in Pure Blanca. And Michael told her basically, like, that's probably not going to happen. You're going to have to prove yourself. You're going to have to show that because he was like, this was my baby blood, sweat, and tears before I even met you. And so it's not that I don't think that you bring something to the table, but to make you a partner, that's just a big commitment. So she took it upon herself. She took some initiative to reach out to a couple of boutiques in New York. She said, while I'm up there, I'm going to go to visit some of these boutiques, take some merchandise, see if they'll, put it in their shop, see if they'll, start carrying Pure Blanca. And Michael's like, look, that would be great. If you could pull this off, that would be a great thing. That would be a great asset to, to the brand. You would show me that, you would really show me your commitment to the brand and all that good stuff. But he's questioning her the whole time. Like, well, are you sure you did that? Were you sure you did this? Were you sure this? And make sure you say that and make sure you do this. And I know part of it is nervous, but there's a part of me that thinks, does he think she can't do it? Like, does he think that she, some people, when they have their baby, they don't feel like anybody else can take care of their baby but them. And I'm like, so do you trust her with Pure Blanca? Or is it just you making sure that, look, you good kind of thing? So, we're in New York, right? We get to New York. They got a nice hotel, nice view. They're asking her mom, how you feeling? Are you feeling nervous and everything? And she said, well, it has definitely changed since the 80s. Now, we know that New York in the 80s was a shit show. And certainly probably the parts that she stayed in New York, in the 80s probably wasn't Upper East Side. And so she was like, it has definitely changed, she said, but, some things are the same, it is what it is. And but her mom, I like her mom. Her mom seems really sweet, seems really sweet. So we see Marie and Dana go to the spa, right? Now, Marie done let us notice, and she done let us know in this little scene with Miss Dana, that she got an eye for the girls. She let us know, okay? Now, we found out that Dana's father is deceased as well. And Marie gets deeper into her rift with her dad, with her family. And she was saying how, when she had her son, she was in, he was in NICU for 2 weeks, and she was in the hospital, and nobody even came to visit, hadn't come to visit. She said, it hurts, that she was like, I get it. I understand that my father doesn't like who I've chosen to be my mate. She said, but it hurts because I love my father, and we always had a really good relationship. And so, at this point, she was like, I really don't know what to do. And Dana told her, Diana. She said, she said, I really wish I had my dad. Like, you need to reach out to your dad. You need to talk to your dad. And she was like, you know what? You're right. I hear you, The other thing that went down in this scene, and this is where the shit gets real messy, y'all. They're questioning why Stephanie not there. Stephanie should be here. She's supposed to be her best friend. Why she not here? They go on Instagram and they just happen to see a picture of Stephanie and Nicole having their own hanging out, right? And they were like, oh, so this looks real cozy. This looks more than I just forgave her. And I agree. Y'all hanging out and doing Instagram filters together, that's more than just I just forgave her. That's some other shit. Flip it back down Florida, we see they having their own spa day. And Stephanie happens to see pictures of Kat in New York with Marie and Diana. And so, of course, Stephanie gets mad because Stephanie is like, you sat there in my face and you did not even tell me that they were going with you, which she didn't. Because she asked her, well, who's going with you? Who? She said, my mother. She ain't mentioned Marie. She ain't mentioned Diana. She just said my mom. So that was a little shady, Kat. But then Kat tells Dana, shoot, I'm getting all these names. Kat tells Stephanie that she didn't mention it because she said, I don't really want any drama. I'm trying to clear things up. I'm not trying to get in the middle of no mess. I'm trying to, smooth things over, whatever. So, of course, Stephanie gets in her feelings because she's like, she lied to me. Why did she tell me? Now, all of a sudden, they friends. And, of course, Stephanie and, Marie and Diana up in New York talking shit like, oh, she down there making her and Nicole the best friends all of a sudden. It's a mess. It's just a mess, right? It's a whole bunch of mess, y'all. And it's really about communication. Like, this whole thing could be cleared up without a whole lot of mess. But it's a reality show, so it's going to be messy. And in this situation, everybody wrong. Everybody got a little piece of the wrong pie. Everybody got a little piece of pie in this one where they were wrong. I ain't going to dissect it, but y'all can figure out who got slices. So then we see Miss Marie on her business grind. She goes to the boutique. She setting up her rack and everything. And, come to find out it's a black boutique owned by two brothers. Little brothers. They're brothers, but they also brothers. And she has her merchandise. Now, she says, once I got here, I realized I probably should have bought the tracksuits. And she's on the phone with Michael, and he was like, see, I told you to take the tracksuits. I told you to take them. Now, my thing is this. He asked you, did you look the boutique up? Did you do your research? Did you look? Clearly, you didn't do all of that. Because if you had done all of that, then you would have known what type of merchandise this shop sells. They sell hip-hop gear. They sell, hoodies and snapbacks and whatever the kids are wearing these days, and she's got like tank tops and and Griselda t-shirts and stuff like that. You should have taken the tracksuits. If you had taken them tracksuits, you probably would have got an instant sale. But instead, you had to show them pictures. And so she talked though. She was like, look, who y'all got up in here? Who y'all got? Biggie, Tupac? She said Griselda was the biggest gangster out of all of them. She was the biggest But the problem isn't who you got on the shirt. The problem is that the shirt is not something that they could sell. The picture is not something they could sell. And one of the guys even said, like, Narcos. He was like, I don't necessarily know if I want to be associated with a brand called Narcos. So again, you might have looked them up to see that they were a successful boutique, but you clearly did not do the research on who these guys were, what their business model was, what types of merchandise they want in their store, and what type of merchandise they sell in their store. You clearly didn't really do that research. But what you did end up walking away with, you walked away with a tentative deal. They said they would take the merchandise on a consignment, and if they can sell it, I'm sure they have to sell it by a certain amount of time, then they will order some stuff for you to put in their store on a permanent basis. So, so you somewhat made the deal, but I think you probably would have had a better shot at selling it if you would have had them tracksuits and not them tank tops, because who the hell buying tank tops in winter in New York? Nobody. Alright, so we see Kat with her mom and her meeting her family, her New York family, and everybody's there and they're having a good time. They talk about how her mom, the restaurant where they were was her grandmother's restaurant, and how in the 80s that was like the local hangout, that was the spot, how they had a payphone in there where all the collect calls would come from jail, how they would pay them to keep the phones open so that people could get their collect calls from jail, because maybe people didn't have phones at home or whatever, and she talked about how she met her dad and how she started dating her dad. And she said, these are the types of stories that my mom doesn't tell me. My mom doesn't talk a lot about my dad, but I like hearing my mom talk about the good times and talk about, her, how she met my dad and her dating my dad. They knew he was a gangster when they started, and she said how her family didn't really want her dating him because they knew who he was. They knew he wasn't, wasn't really about shit. But it was a good conversation. It was nice to see, a good little family moment. And they did talk about how hard life was. They talked about that neighborhood and how there was a large Colombian population that came over during that time period, and how once they would get here, they would realize how hard it was to find work. And so a lot of them did have links to the cartel back home, and that's how they got connected, and how that area of New York became very synonymous with narcos activity, and as a result it was a lot of violence associated with that area. And her brother, I mean not her brother, her cousin was talking about seeing his father being shot and at a young age. And so again you continue to see how this lifestyle affected so many people just beyond right here. And in that moment, Marie says that she sort of gets it. Like, she is hearing the long-term effects and the outside effects of all the people who were killed and all the people whose lives were affected as a result of this situation about the drugs. And she said, I get it that Griselda is connected with so much misery and so much death and so much, she said, so I understand why my father doesn't want me to be associated with that. She was like, but Michael is not his mother, and should he have to pay for the crimes of his mom? And she was like, especially since you were in the lifestyle at one point too, you know what I mean? Like, it ain't like your hands are clean. So she said that she did see it from that point of view. I ain't mean to talk this long, y'all. I'm about to wrap this up. So then we see them actually go back to the store where her father was killed. And of course, what the hell? And of course, it was very emotional. Sorry. But definitely was very emotional, and, you just saw Kat was very, she was very emotional. Just to be at the place where her father was killed and to just be in that moment and be in it. So it was a good episode, you guys. I'm sorry I rambled on for so long, but some stuff was just on my mind. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Talk to you later. Peace.